I take solace in the fact that we have a tendency and a propensity to cover Tucker Carlson on this channel. And as I'm sure you remember, both of you, back in 2002, 2003, Tucker was on the, we should go to war in Iraq train. But for at some point over the past, I would say, decade plus, he had his, we'll call it, come to Jesus moment. And he has been one of the most vocal opponents of the war machine. Now, granted, as I'm sure you both would agree, he's definitely intelligence and he's protected. So he can say what he's saying and not, face some type of an unfortunate accident. We'll put it that way. But I think Tucker, in so many respects, is a reflection of the changing of the guard that has happened in this country when it comes to the military and our foreign policy. If this was 20 years ago, 25 years ago, especially in the early stages post 9/11, it would be very difficult to try to get the general consensus of the American people to see what's really going on. I have a feeling that right now, the State Department, they've lost the American people. They've lost them. And while there are still some true believers out there that just believe in American exceptionalism and just won't question anything, I do believe the overall consensus is we are heading for some type of a revolution. I don't know what it's going to look like, but it's kind of happening as we speak. And it is going to be interesting to see how it all unfolds. As we conclude for the evening, how do you gentlemen see some type of a revolution happening in this country?
I think we're headed for Trump's invocation of the Insurrection Act. I really do. His statement today about we don't really need to have the midterm elections was indicative of that. But what I'm looking at right now is what's happening in Minnesota and other places to a lesser extent, and he's doubling down now in Minnesota. And I'm thinking about the 1807 Act, which was, of all things, was signed by Thomas Jefferson, who also wrote the Declaration of Independence. Yep. Figure that one out. Powell used to say, where you stand depends on where you sit. Well, Jefferson became president, he signed that act. But it allows him to call out the active duty military and to federalize the state's National Guards if anything occurs that he will then define as an insurrection. You could already begin to see the instigation of this with Minnesota very vividly, I think. So if he's serious about this business of not having midterms and so forth, that's where he's going to start. And you can go state by state. The act makes that clear that you can do it if you think it's happening in this state or that state, or you can do it nationwide. Well, clever man would start like Steve Miller. I think he's sort of behind this. Would start in Minnesota, move over to Wisconsin, pick it up again in Oregon, places like that. And then before you know it, we've got the military everywhere. That's the domestic situation that I think we're confronting with this guy right now, who has no morality, no system to judge things by in terms of moral reasoning, and power in his mind, by his own admission, are his guidelines.
So what is the purpose of Minnesota then? What do you, Dennis, please, what is the, and whether or not the touch point is the ICE agent's assassination of that mother, what do you see is, it does seem to kind of have everything colliding all at once. It's very interesting to see people's viewpoints about authoritarian behavior within the United States and the, we'll just say, the duality, the hypocrisy that they have when it comes to other countries enacting the same policies. But here at home, well, as long as Trump's doing it, it must be okay. What do you see as is the main angle here on the greater scope, if you will, regarding what happened in Minneapolis?
Let me just tie this in as we end this. I mean, it's something that you said earlier when you mentioned about Tucker Carlson. I would throw in Candace Owens in there, and I would throw in Marjorie Taylor Greene. Sure. And I've told folks, I really think Marjorie Taylor Greene is sincere, regardless of how she was in her past politics. I could not stand her politics, but she's losing a lot and she's putting her life in danger. And so I joined that team when we're trying to save America. Okay. So I would throw those two in there too. Now, I see Minnesota as the training ground. This is when you got the state government and the federal government coming to head. And I see that as the training ground for what's to come. That is the training ground, because you have the state government and the federal government this close to going to war. You already had a Philadelphia sheriff. If you didn't see what she said, bring that smoke. And she's talking to the federal government, and that is a local government. So I see this coming to a head. Now, I've been on your show and many other shows, and I want to remind your audience, we got a sad Congress. We saw this coming with Trump in his second term. The takeover, the authoritative government started with the loyalty test. You got Hegseth, would do anything in the Department of Defense. So he got the Department of Defense. He has the Attorney General in Pam Bondi. He got Nome. The one that disappoints me the most, who knows better, is Rubio.
Yeah.
But it's all about power in him. And so we saw this coming. He have the loyalty behind him in the government right now. You got, man, I don't want to say the word I wanted to say, but you got a sorry behind Congress, Republican Congress, that letting him do what he wants.
Democrats too.
And Democrats. That's what I'm talking. Yeah. I'm talking about Congress.
They are supine. They are cowards.
Cowards. Let me just say, here's why I say that. Let me just say this, Peter. Here's why I say that. If the Democrats were serious, they represent people. They will be the one to lead a peaceful demonstration in the streets to call on all their people in the states and in their districts to say, we're going to get out in the streets and protest this peacefully, of course. But they don't have no spine. They run their mouths. Show me some action.
Well, it isn't necessarily about having a spine. It's that they're all in it together. And you also have to remember the very sin. You see, I've always said when it comes to empire, Democrats are much more sinister than Republicans are. They're much more underhanded and very good at again, when you think about who was the biggest warmonger in the U.S. Congress leading up to the war in Iraq, it was Joe Biden.
Well, listen.
You know,
that's why. That's why I said Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden. They were both running for president at the time, and you can throw in John Kerry. They supported the Iraq War. John Kerry tried to back out of it. Oh, I supported it, then I didn't support it. But yes, as I stated earlier, it was Bill Clinton that came up with the regime change policy, and now there's Democrats saying, "Oh, well, we should remove Rodriguez." It's Democrats saying that. They're all in together.
Who was the Secretary of State who, when confronted by, I think it was a reporter, if I remember right, about the 500,000 children who died from sanctions?
What's her name?
It was worth it.
Because Albright was a woman, that means it's acceptable for her to get away with it.
Exactly.
And this is the mindset of the Democratic establishment. It's always been this way. It's been this way. It's been this way ever since Ted Kennedy versus Jimmy Carter. What people need to understand is simply this. The Democrats rely on the Republicans being so bad that the American voter will say, I really hate the Democrats, but I guess they're not as bad as Republicans. That's what they're counting on. That's why they're not trying to stop any of this. They're like, when we get to the ballot box in November, if we can live that long, then they'll vote for us by default, even though we will not do anything to help the people. And I wanted to, since you brought it up, and I think that this is actually very relevant. And the guy, he goes by the name Jolly Good Ginger. Is that what he
I love the Jolly Good Ginger.
Jolly Good Ginger. So
I love him.
Our friends over at Status Quo News, who have been on the ground covering everything that's been going on with ICE in Minneapolis, this is how you deal directly with ICE agents, because you see, it's very, you can tell that they're trained by the IDF. You can tell that they're trained by the Mossad. Why? Because they only pick on women and children. When a man who's actually served in the military confronts you, you're not so tough anymore.
Shoot this time. Who did you shoot this time, you cosplayer fuck? I served in the Army for 13 years to wear that uniform, and your fucking fat ass did 47 days of training to wear it because you're a fucking MEAL Team 6 Gravy Seal motherfucker. You couldn't fucking walk a day in my shoes, you fucking slumbag. Neither could you. Fix that fucking helmet. You're like a fucking soup sandwich. if I was your fucking sergeant,
I was just going to say, you have to understand the language he's using right now is if you were going through basic, okay? He is whipping up the troops and showing them what it means to actually have your butt kicked, literally and figuratively.
you'd be fucking pushing the fucking dirt now. You fucking slumbag motherfuckers. Shoot me, bitch. Shoot me, bitch.
They're not so tough when somebody who outranks them is actually giving them the business. Because they know that if they capped a veteran, that would there's no getting that would be.
That's the Civil War. That would be it right there.
Well, that's what I'm worried about. That's very much what I'm worried about. Because if Americans, at least certain of them, get irritated enough, they'll start shooting back.
I'm actually counting on it because I would like ICE to try some of that shit in places that are much more brazenly open carry. Yeah. You want to go try that stuff when now we're starting to see resurgence of Black Panthers standing on street corners, and let them start trying that shit. Somebody is going to shoot them back from a car. If they did that in Florida, you break open a window to a car in Florida, you're going to get your face shot.
Latest count, according to the FBI, is 475 million guns in the country.
Right. Hey, let me just say how this happens when you were talking about that. You know, I was at Walter Reed years and years ago working with the Wounded Warrior program for the military. Many families will come up to me when they see their young son or daughter face badly bruised because of an IED, leg lost, arm lost. They will say, wow, I didn't know this war was real until I see my child almost on their deathbed or lost an arm or leg. Now, what the people are seeing, whether you be conservative, whatever you are, Democrat, Republican, when they're coming into your neighborhoods, people, because the politicians want to cause all the problems with us, trying to keep us apart, when they see somebody in their neighborhood being harassed, it's hitting home now. Yep. You know, no matter you're black, white, conservative, Democrat, you're seeing it hit home. And that's what's going to bring us together. You're saying, hey, I thought you were going after the criminals. This is a hardworking man or woman that you're pulling out the car. People are seeing this, and it's going to backfire on Trump. And so that's what's happening now. People are personally seeing it. It's in their neighborhoods now, somebody they knew to be a good neighbor, to be a good person. And why are you doing this?
Because as I've often said, people don't like to punch up. If you really want to know what the problem is, especially with immigration in the United States, the powers that be, the multinational corporations, own our government, hook, line, and sinker, in conjunction with the Zionist state. And if it was up to them, we would all be wage slaves. We technically are, but they would rather pay us nothing and just adhere to whatever the will of the shareholders want. And so that's why when labor feels their oats and they think that they've got a chance to get some decent living conditions for themselves, they open up the floodgates. They bring desperate people into this country, probably from places that have been war-torn by us. And then you see the cycle repeat itself, and it's been repeating itself for generations. But let's end on a positive note. Let's end on a positive note.
There is one.
There is one. We've got a positive note. Shout out to Joman who put this together. Have you thought about joining ICE? Well, considering the very low standards that they have, here's a recruitment video for ICE.
Did you fail the police academy but still want a badge and a gun? Not cut out for the military but still want to terrorize marginalized communities? Did you peak in junior high, both intellectually and sexually? Do you look like a toe that got stung by bees? Do you struggle to read words with more than 2 syllables? Do you have zero skills, talents, or redeeming qualities as a person? If so, join ICE. Every worthwhile member of your community will rightfully despise you. Turn your fear, cowardice, and fragility into state-sanctioned violence. No experience required, and training only lasts 10 minutes. Ruin people's lives for no good reason. Solidify your place in the anal polyps of history. Your mail-order wife will develop a debilitating alcohol problem to cope with your sham marriage. Weaponize your self-victimhood by stepping in front of cars going 1 mile per hour and using it as an excuse to soccer moms. Serve the country your ancestors stole with pride you've never earned a day in your life. Join ICE. We'll be waiting. ICE. Legitimizing the biggest loser you've ever met since 2003.
I love it the way we make spoof and satire out of a lot of this stuff. I hope it doesn't backfire.
Well, what else can we do? What else can we do with
laugh,
this?
what else?
You know, look around the world though. A lot of people don't do this sort of thing. A lot of people just knuckle under.